मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही है स्वयं सिद्धा, तुम्हारी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
Sir, I welcome all of you today. I welcome all the speakers, Professor Krishna Raj, Professor N.N. Pandey, Professor Ram Ghulam Razdan sir, and Dr. Shashibala Bhosle ma'am. I welcome all of you today. Also, I welcome Professor S. Narayan sir, who is the chairman of our society. And now I request Professor Narayan sir to start with today's webinar.
Okay, thank you Swam Siddha. Am I audible?
Yes.
Can you listen
Yes,
me?
you're audible. You're audible,
Yes.
sir. We can listen to you.
Okay, then I welcome you all. Today's webinar, it is on clean and green India. The topic is, the theme is very topical, and we need to thought over it. That's why we decided that let us have a webinar on clean and green India. I also welcome the viewers who are very regularly viewing us on our YouTube and this Facebook. So we are very much thankful to them that they are coming to our programs and their numbers are increasing gradually. So we are also thankful to them. I welcome Sri N.N. Pandey the former bureaucrat, then Dr. Ram Ghulam Razdan who is a very well-known psychiatrist and is a pro-chancellor of a medical university. Then I welcome this Professor Krishna Raj He is a well-known economist and he is in the team of the Prime Minister. He has given two concepts. One is on the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the other one is related to this Green India. So I'm very much thankful to him that he joined us to discuss and to give his own thought on the subject. Then we have Dr. Bhosle, Shashikala Bhosle.
Shashibala.
She is also a medical practitioner, gynecologist, and she has been elected president of Gynecological Association very recently. So I congratulate her in getting elected as president of the Gynecological
Thank you.
Association. And since we have two medical practitioners, Dr. Ram Ghulam Razdanji and Shashi Bhosleji, and they are more responsible for talking about green and clean India because a health practitioner need to have the clean India. Only then they can think of a patient-free country, a country where there will be very limited disease. So with these words, I welcome you all in this webinar and hope our deliberation will give some input uh, for the policy research. And since ancient days, in our scriptures, in our ancient books, we find the reference of clean and green India, clean and green Bharat. Those days, the Bharat was a geographically a more larger entity than what we are today. And even then, you see, it is the practice. Even today, we practice that wheresoever we sit for concentration or go for temple, we find that those places are clean. and green. Green means our duties are associated with some sort of trees. Each tree which we find, which we plant, has some association with some deity, some god. So the places are full of green, uh, and people keep it clean so that people can have they can have concentration, they can worship deity. So this is a very ancient concept that we are carrying and we are doing it. And then come to Gandhiji. Gandhiji also laid emphasis on the cleanliness, Swachhta, and the green means the plantation of tree, the plants. That was also part of the Gandhiji's day-to-day life. And then if we come to the present government, even after independence, our planning commission has laid emphasis on cleanliness and green India. Even today, we find that the present government has also made a lot of emphasis on these two aspects, and we have good experts with us to discuss the subject. So I would like to request, first of all, we have Professor Krishna Rajji. He is an expert on the subject and he used to give advice to government. So I would like to request him to give his own opinion about clean and green India. So that will be very nice of you if you can give such, if you can explain your thoughts on the subject. Professor Krishna Raj, please.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, Professor S. Narayan, sir, and co-panelists and experts, Dr. Shashi Bala, Professor Ram Gulam, and N.N. Pandey. And indeed, it is a great opportunity to share a few of my thoughts on green and clean and green India. It is a very good thought out webinar on the topic, which is very pertinent to the current situation, especially North India is reeling under heat waves. The climate change is the biggest threat to existence of life itself. I wrote an article recently how both climate change and inflations are affecting the poor the most when compared to the rich. They can take shelter under affluence as well as the uh, various gadgets available. So air conditions. So the rich can adapt to the climate change as well as inflation, whereas the poor who are not, they are capable to adapt to the both price rise as well as increase in the climate. As Professor Narayan has mentioned, India has a great history in conservation of natural resources, and the all the five elements of the universe or the earth, they are considered as, even today, they are the sacred elements. So we worship them in our day-to-day life. At the same time, if you look at various cultures throughout India, even today, there are a good number of practices where the forests are worshipped. Forests are considered as sacred. There are a good number of sacred groves God's own forest, God's forest, where even people attach more importance to their conservation through religious ethos. On the one hand, we have a dichotomy in our ethos. Dichotomy in the sense that on the one hand, there are traditional beliefs. On the other hand, there are modern beliefs. The traditional beliefs, they attach more importance to conservation of forest, and they also lead a sustainable livelihood, a simple and sustainable livelihood. On the other hand, the modern approach is the natural capital are being increasingly exploited, and they are uh, this capital is substituted to man-made capital and also improvement of human capital. So this is how economic development is pursued based on the Western economic development principles. On the other hand, we have traditional approach to economic development. The traditional approach is that conservation of natural capital, including water, forest, biodiversity, and all the sacred elements, they are very important for the survival of the human being. So India is caught between these two developmental ethos or paradoxes. On the one hand, we need to conserve the natural resources. On the other hand, we need to make economic development to uplift the nearly 50 crores population. They are below the poverty line. So sometimes, which model should India follow? That is the big question. In this regard, the government's approach is for modern economic development, or development development completely relied on World Bank and IMF policies of liberalization, globalization, and privatization. As a result, the GDP of India has been steadily increasing on an average from 6 to 7% in the last 2 or 3 decades after 1991. On the other hand, the natural resources, the per capita availability of natural resources have been steadily declining, causing the environmental pollution, environmental degradation, and per capita availability of resources, particularly the forest, the water, and the per capita availability of land, per capita availability of other resources, especially common property resources, are decreasing steadily. In this paradox, even though the government of India has taken several measures to increase the green area to the total geographical area of India to 33% of the geographical area, still we could not achieve. We have only 23% of the India's geographical area under green cover or forest cover. On the other hand, we are facing the problem of pollution. Pollution, not only the urban cities, urban areas, but also pollution of rivers, pollution of land, pollution of water, pollution of our uh, almost all the segments of the earth, lithosphere, uh, s- uh, hydrosphere, stratosphere, and also lithosphere, all the segments, biosphere, etc. All the four segments of the earth are being polluted. So all the environmental media is being polluted. Even though there are several measures government of India has taken, especially Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Clean India program, National Afforestation program, renewable energy program, etc. But still, the India's achievement to realize a clean and green India is far-reaching. So, especially if you look at the sustainable developmental goals, there are 17 sustainable developmental goals. India is lagging behind in achieving all the sustainable developmental goals. You know that in 1987, the Brundtland Commission uh, has earnestly called for achieving sustainable development. Sustainable development is the principle where it calls for meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability to meet the needs of the future generation. Even Mahatma Gandhi has also said in a different language, that is simple living and high thinking, or in other words, the nature uh, has the ability to fulfill all our needs, not our greeds. On the same line, the sustainable developmental principles are advocated by the United Nations organization in 1987. But still, the developmental pursuit is uh, is carried out based on the recommendations of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and IBRD, that is World Bank. So these institutions are continuously influence the economic policies of the country, and these policies are liberalization, globalization, and privatization. The liberalization, globalization, privatization policies are giving the way for develop first and clean next. So this is the pursuit of economic development. So when we are making economic development, we are polluting segments of the environment. It may be water, air, or even land, and even climate, etc. As a result, India is facing the unprecedented environmental crisis in recent years. All of our cities are highly polluted. All our rivers, including Ganges, are highly polluted, and all our lands, agricultural lands, are highly being polluted with the usage of high doses of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So, whatever efforts the governments are making, they are very, very minimal, and they cannot succeed to uh, ensure sustainable development in the near future. Because you know that even though nearly rupees 20,000 crores has been spent by the government of India on the Clean Ganga mission, even one drop of the water is not being cleaned. So that is the gravity of the environmental pollution in India. So if you look at the Delhi air pollution, the Delhi air pollution is the worst in the world, because the parts per million, that is especially the SPM, suspended particulate matter, uh, weighing 2.5 milligram and 10 milligram, those that exceeds the standard, that is 60 is the standard, but the pollution is around 500, 600 SPM, suspended particulate matter. So that is causing the health impacts, especially on the children. Uh, uh, so the longevity of the children will be affected in the long run. So therefore, the government of India's effort to clean and green the nation has been unsuccessful, and they have a limited success in some areas. So climate change has become a new normal all over the world. The average temperature has been increasing, which has caused severe variations in the weather. You might have seen recently the cyclones we have witnessed. Even in the summer season, we have received the heavy rains in various parts of the southern states, and it is moving towards other states. So these type of environmental disasters are increasingly very frequent and increasing day by day. So these disasters will cause more destruction of the economy, infrastructure, and also the livelihoods of millions of people, and they are pushed to poverty and unemployment, and also inaccessible to various resources. So therefore, the choice of the government for economic development and neglecting the environment is highly disastrous unless the government takes the efforts on war footing. The environment cannot be secured, especially in India, because developmental activities that are taking place in India that are having much far-reaching implications on the environment and sustainable development of India. So as per the recent various reports, including environmental performance index of India. So India stands very low positions. So it means that in all respect, in conservation of resources, pollution of the cities, pollution of the ecosystems, so India ranks very low. So it scores out of 100, it scores only 29. So, given this situation, India needs to take sustainable developmental goals into policy domain and seriously implement these sustainable developmental goals. As you know, there are 17 sustainable developmental goals. The first one is that no poverty. The almost 50% of the Indian population is living under $2 per day. It means that they are in acute poverty or absolute poverty. So in order to lift them out of the poverty, development is required. On the other hand, we cannot undermine the natural resources and their contributions to economic development. So the main issue we are facing in India is that development is taking place, but the fruits of the development is not reaching the poor. As a result, the poor are depending more on natural resources, and in turn, natural resources will be degraded not only because of poor depending on natural resources, but also more importantly, the natural resources, especially the common property resources, are being acquired and privatized by the government as well as the private authorities. As a result, on the one hand, the common property resources are declining, on which the poor people are depending on. On the other hand, the access to natural capital, natural resources, including water, forest, and also land, is limited to the poor. On the other hand, the governmental programs are not effectively reaching to the poor. This has caused more poverty and unemployment, especially in rural areas. So, therefore, poverty continues to be very high in the world, in India. Nearly 25%, nearly 25 to 30% of the poor, they live in India. So, therefore, in order to achieve the no poverty objective as a sustainable developmental goal, India needs to focus more on providing all these resources. These resources including access to natural resources, that is clean air, clean water, and also the health, sanitation, and housing. They are very important, apart from providing shelter, employment, etc. So poverty can be addressed effectively with the effective implementation of various rural developmental programs, housing programs, water and sanitation programs, energy access to energy, clean energy especially, and also other developmental programs. So the second important sustainable developmental goal is that zero hunger. As per the World Development Report, millions of people in India, they are facing they eat one meal per day. It means that they are facing hunger. It is equivalent to Afghanistan. It is equivalent to other South Asian countries. So it clearly shows that people have no people do not have employment and also the money to access the food for three meal. So India needs to reduce this hunger, especially in rural area. Another sustainable developmental goal is that good health and well-being. So malnutrition and less calorie consumption and inaccessible to hospital and infrastructure is very poor in rural areas. So as a result, even today, millions of people they are not provided the health facilities. Madam, Dr. Shashi Bala would be the right person to explain how, what extent the Indians are not access to even primary health care.
Yes.
So apart from that, if you take education, quality education is the major issue in India. Even today, some of the marginalized community they are not access to education. The dropout rate is very high among the marginalized community, and gender inequality. Gender inequality is very high in India, as per the fifth sustainable developmental goal. The gender inequality is very high, especially the women's labor participation or participation of women in labor market is very very less. And also there is a wage inequality.
This
Earning
one.
of wage by men is higher than the earning of women. So, if you take the clean water and sanitation, even though the government of India announces that they are providing the clean and sanitation is 100%, but even today, due to lack of water, even drinking water, the sanitation programs have become ineffective. As a result, the due to lack of water and due to inaccess to water resources, especially the potable water resources in villages, has caused many health issues. Even in Karnataka, we have studied the health issues mainly due to arsenic water and other quality of water quality issues. The health issues are more. As a result, the sanitation programs have been completely failed due to unavailability of water. Likewise, affordable and clean energy. If you look at the recent government's effort to supply a clean energy to the all the rural areas, even though earlier the subsidized LPG has been distributed, but recently, due to increase in the LPG prices, the rural poor have switched over to the earlier source of energy, that is fuel wood. As a result, the pollution has been increasing. As a result of pollution, especially the women, who are exposed to the pollution are being affected in terms of health. So decent work and economic growth, you know that income inequality is very high in India. Nearly 60% of the resources are enjoyed by 10% of the ultra rich people. So if this is the economic inequality, and nearly 90% of the people are sharing the 40% of the resources. So therefore, decent work and economic growth should be equitable and sustainable one to all the people in India. So, likewise, there are several other sustainable developmental goals. That I am focusing on some of these goals. Sustainable cities and communities is the another big issue. You know that the migration is taking place in cities, and affordable housing is the major problem. And cities are highly congested, and there are crime rates are increasing due to non-availability of employment opportunities. So therefore, government needs to give attention to how to make cities sustainable one, and the communities can a livable city, livable cities. So the another sustainable developmental goal is that how to make economic development and production of various resources clean and also less polluting. Therefore, responsible consumption and production are very important. So we need to reduce the waste and reuse the waste and also recycle the waste. By recycling, we can reuse the waste. So therefore, we have to change the pattern of production, and also our consumption habits should also change towards greener path. So there is a urgent need. Both people's mindset should also change. As people's mindset will change towards consumption, so they are becoming less consumerism. Then the production will also be aligned according to the needs and habits of the people. So therefore, we need to change our consumption and production patterns. Then only our cities will become clean and more green. So further, the climate actions. If you look at the climate actions in recent times, even I have studied the climate finance, the investment on the climate mitigation and adaptation programs. There are only few resources are available. Only government resources are available for climate mitigation activities, whereas the private sector is not participating in the climate action. They are the beneficiaries of climate change or government programs, but at the same time, when it comes to the conservation and management of public resources, public goods, the government is taking several measures, whereas the private sector participation is very poor. So therefore, there is inadequacy of finance in meeting afforestation program, and also various green energy programs, and also various sustainable developmental growth programs. So therefore, we need to conserve ecosystems, life below water, that is including groundwater and resources. Life on land, the bioresources needs to be conserved, and with all these sustainable developmental goals, one can think of achieving peace, justice, and strong institutions to achieve all these sustainable developmental goals. Therefore, partnership among the government, NGOs, citizens, and also industry and other agencies at the national, international, at the local level, they are very important. They should play very important role in achieving sustainable developmental goals, then only the India can achieve the objective of clean, green, and sustainable development. Otherwise, these inequalities in all the developmental aspects needs to be addressed by the government to achieve clean, green, and sustainable India. So I stop here. I think I should give opportunity to others. I'm happy to listen to others. I stop here, Professor Narayan.
Thank you very much, Professor. You have made a good presentation so far the clean and green India is concerned. And you have talked about the food, then about education, then about the contribution of women as a laborer, and then about the green energy and all these things. These are very, very important issues which you have mentioned about. And if I remember correctly, in the last global climate change meet, our Honorable Prime Minister has also mentioned about these things, and he has said that by 2030,
Yeah. So by 2070, the
green India
government
we will
wants
have
to
that
achieve zero emission.
zero emission.
Zero
2030 it will be
emission.
a zero emission. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That will be
So
the zero emission.
it is a very
So
aspirational goal, but in
yeah,
practice,
this
it
is
is very difficult to reach that goal, given the economic development. So the economic development is highly prioritized over sustainable development or conservation of natural resources. So
yes,
even
yes.
I can give various statistics. The per capita emission of CO2 is increasing. The per capita
Yes,
use of energy is increasing. So, given this per capita emission and per capita energy use, there is a relationship. So, how can we mitigate the climate is the biggest challenge before us.
and that is only that is those are the good words which which we are
Mm.
expecting.
Yes, yes,
Let us
yes,
see what happens by 2030. But this is all that you
yes.
know about the policy and the things which are happening in the country. So thank you very much. Now we will request we have only one doctor, gynecologist who has been recently elected as president of Gynecological Association. So I'd like to request her from gynecologist and from medical point of view, what you think of clean and green India? What because in rural India or in tribal India, the medical practitioners they are not going. So what you will suggest for?
Yes, sir. Uh, Thank you, Professor Narayan. Um, I'm really obliged that you have invited me here in the august company of Dr. Krishna Raj and Professor Ram Gulam. And I was listening to Dr. Krishna Raj, and I must say, it is a really scary scenario. You are saying per capita emission of carbon dioxide is increasing, and that energy rate is also increasing. Above all, that corona is also there, so it is taking up all our energies. Uh, how to Because this corona affects mainly the lungs, so if we are already compromised, then naturally these things will really we'll have a tough time combating with the fresh. We need fresh air, and we are not getting that. And
Correct.
above all, vitamin D is also very, very deficient. The population which is coming now with us is
Yes.
having deficiency of vitamin D. And vitamin D is very, very important for the metabolism and for your immunity. And they say nowadays we have come to the conclusion that gut immunity counts. So if the surrounding is not clean, and if everything unclean, if we just ingest that, then naturally your gut takes a backseat, and all the parasitic infections and all those worm infestations, which is very, very prevalent in the rural areas, And that is why the stunted growth of the child in utero, we are dealing with the intrauterine growth retardation. And these children, the mother starts her pregnancy. I'm a gynecologist, so I deal with mostly these people. And I have seen that nowadays the 2.5 kg weight gain is also not there. Weight babies are also not there. And the normal 9 to 11 kg weight gain is also not there of the females. Because not because of the iron deficiency, which everyone feels that anemia is the root cause. Main cause we find is the hypoproteinemia. So protein deficient diet is really taking its toll. And hemoglobin is both iron plus protein. So we neglect the protein part, and we are just in the hospitals also, in the government supply also, we are giving iron and folic acid tablets. First trimester, the baby is like, we get NTDs, like neural tube defects. For that, folic acid is very, very essential. But at the same time, if the high risk patients, how do we classify them? High risk are less than 40 kgs. If the woman is less than 40 kgs and she is already deficient in iron, already deficient in protein, so the problem is that weight gain will not be there with her. So I'll just give an introduction of what Gandhiji was saying. So every Indian must learn that the place where they live should be neat and clean. So nearest is the surrounding, your home, your room, your toilet, and your body. So keep the you must wash your hands. Thanks to Corona, we all have learned the what is cleanliness, and they must plant and preserve trees around them. So that can only combat with the CO2 level that is going down, and also the whole country will become a beautiful place. Keeping our country clean and green is the duty of every citizen. It is not the only the this diseases and medicine, this medical problems, they are all we are tackling nowadays is because of the doctors. Nowadays everything is thrust on the doctors, that because of your treatment there is some problem. Why can't you? We cannot do overnight, we cannot do a makeover. So without public cooperation, we can't achieve anything. So we should, so clean and green. So we must help our country to try to make it clean and green. And these are some of the slides which are just for the clean and green India. I'll just just read them and then I'll come to the point. So the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, as we all know, I was posted, I remember, in Mercy Home, and that was a place for the mentally retarded children. And that time we were so very excited on the 2nd October 2014. Prime Minister Modi ji started our campaign, and we also took up the jhadus and we also cleaned, and all the children were following us. So it became really a rage. So everyone tried to, and we took it in a big way. So it was a real big starting point. So next, please. So concept of clean and green India is a pure like a paved access for every person to sanitization facilities. See, clean directly relates to sanitation, including toilets, solid and liquid waste disposal system, cleanliness, and safe drinking water. See, if a pregnant patient or a person or even a non-pregnant patient is not getting safe drinking water, so thing is worm infestation, and secondly gastro problems, and again because of that no malabsorption syndrome. So it reflects on the, even if the patient person is eating well and in a good environment, as you said, if she's not poor, she's getting 2 times she's getting her meals, but still she is not getting the desired weight gain. So that shows that there is some problem with the absorption, that is the malabsorption. So we have to keep India clean, or globally we have to keep the world clean and universe clean, and let it always be green. And it's a planet, and don't throw it out. It will have very difficult repercussions, I must say. Next, please. So for that green trees, we must put an end to the deforestation. Clean India, as I said, sanitation is more important than independence. That is what Mahatma Gandhi ji said. And so sanitation, nowadays we have public toilets everywhere. Still, we get patients in the nursing homes. They are coming. People are walking on the streets. The public toilets are there, but they are not maintained. So what to do? Patients, they do not go there, and they are again, they are at a what to do. So they all are using our nursing homes. So our lady doctors are really doing a good job. They are opening up their toilets for the patients or the people, women on the streets. So for now again, this is all like the thumb rule should be for every tree cut, then 10 should be planted, and it should be the planting is not enough. It should be very well looked after. So my society now, as I'm president, we have decided on this environmental day, we would be planting the trees, and each most of the doctors, they have farmhouses and everything. So we have made it a point that each farmhouse owner will have trees, because they have all people to look after, tend to the gardens. So those trees will be counted, and we would be looking after 1 year. We'll go and plant again at the same place. So for every tree cut, so trees should not be cut. If they are cut, then 10 should be planted in their place. Next, please. So this is just you can clean India, clean and green. That is the vision we are following. So decisions are easier when the vision is clear. So we have to make our vision very, very clear. Clean and green, both will help us in a long way. Next, please. So how can we as public keep a city clean and green? For that, it starts from the little basic things like uh, cleaning our room, cleaning our toilets by ourselves. Gandhiji used to do that, and it is really a good idea. We cannot expect other person to clean for you. So you have to clean yourself, and you have to make your surroundings clean. And we have to teach our children also that this is the code of the day, that you clean your own homes, clean your own toilets, and do not wait for other persons, so that the discrimination is not there, that this person will clean or that person will clean. You have to be self-reliant. Next, please. So I'm Siddha. Next. Next, please. So now, first thing what counts is you have to be a very, very responsible citizen. Whenever you walk on the streets, you cannot overlook. Somebody throws a plastic cup or anything, you can pick it up and throw it in the dustbin and set an example for the others. So the trash will be less and the other people will follow. So you have to be a responsible citizen. The citizens should be made aware that you got to do your contribution should also be there. You cannot depend on the government to make. So this education, I think this health education is important in schools. Now this education should also be important, is important, and it should be imparted at the school levels. Next, please. So avoid plastic. We have been shouting and shouting from the rooftops, and nobody is listening to our say no to plastics. You can carry a bag, a cloth bag from your place, and then you can take your things. Also, wastage of food, as Dr. Krishna Raj said just now, that so many people are going with one meal. That is really, really very sad. And hunger is there. And on the other side of the spectrum, there are people who are wasting food. They order a lot, they eat a lot, and they are getting obese, and they are getting really, really into bad shape. But still, not, I think I don't know what nothing keeps telling them. Even diabetes is there, but still they keep on eating. So, Swayamsita, just come to the last slide. Last slide before this. No, 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 no. You're going too fast. Just, just. So yes, this. Why we need a Swachh Bharat? Even as you said, in temples and toilets, temples and place of worship, people eat the prasad and then they just throw it and the water gets clogged. So don't throw waste. This waste should not be thrown, and it should be that fine should be there. I think people need to know that this is really taking a lot of lives, because all these are the breeding grounds of malaria and dengue. So now in August, September, we lose so many lives, so many patients die because of this water clogging, and where this breeds malaria and dengue breeds. So this thing they should be made aware. So awareness is lacking. They don't listen. Even in their own homes, in their own coolers, we find the dengue larva. We are doing a survey here, and we found almost in even the poshest of poshest colonies that dengue larva was lurking. So analyzing the success of Swachh Bharat only by slogans, it is not going to help. It is not going to help. It has to be done at the ground level. So please come forward. Everyone should be responsible for keeping the country clean. Our Prime Minister is keeping on telling us that Swachh Bharat, it was started in 2014 and now it is 22. And even then, we have not yet one step towards cleanliness we have taken. But still, the main objectives are to reduce and eliminate, though ODF is less nowadays by construction of these, but still people do not follow the norms. So Clean India, Green India program is unique. It is unique. It has to be followed. It has to be implemented. And even if this is maintained, then the rest will be really, everything will fall into place. And the major goals of Green India will be met. So to increase the forest tree cover now, cleanliness apart, we are seeing the global warming. This time, as you said, Delhi is warm, Gwalior is equally boiling. So naturally, dehydration, we are getting, so many people are suffering, and the clean water level has gone down. So our resources are really drying up. So the scenario is really getting very bleak. So we must increase the forest and tree cover, because we as doctors come with the treatment of the effects. We are not at the precautionary level. Precaution lies in the hands of the public and the people who are sitting at the top, who have to see that these people, there are some guidelines are there so that everybody can follow that. Next, please. So physical well-being and healthy environment is really looking like a dream now. It has to be a reality. So all the people should take a broom 1 hour every day. 1 hour every day should be going and cleaning your premises. If each one premises his or own premises, then we don't need others. And public places can be cleaned by these youngsters. They can be utilized. First, we used to have NCC and all these bodies were there, where the young children had full of energy, NSS and all. We were doing all this. I had joined NSS. And I remember we were mostly outdoors, and our teacher used to take us out and show us so that concept of cleanliness was ingrained in us in school time. But nowadays, this disposable and those packed materials and packed food has added to the litter. So say no to all this litter, and we must take the cudgel ourselves. Next, please. So malaria, disease-free India is the effect of bad sanitation. And so typhoid, malaria, then you can have cough, as I said, all the respiratory diseases, and all we have these cardiac diseases are also related to that. If see, cardiac disease is very much related to your oral hygiene also. Now the people nowadays are eating this is okay. Now it's finished. I think the slides are finished. Over, Swam Siddha. Just next, please. Yeah, now I'll just tell you. Yeah, you can put it off. Now, what I want to impress here. Now you can take it off. Uh, what I want to impress here, sirs, that what about this pan parag? I'm really fed up of this pan parag. The patient, when they come with their husband, they're spitting everywhere, and if you tell them, so then they say ki even their wife is also taking, and that is damaging the kidneys. We are getting lots and lots of patients with damaged kidneys, not about oral health, oral cancers. Apart from that, so some measures should be taken to nip it in the bud. So some measures, if you take, I tell you, 20% of the diseases will vanish. Or oral hygiene is so poor, they do wash their hands, but they do not brush their teeth. And this everything begins from the mouth. And if they think to be healthy, you have a juice. So I tell them, no, juice is not important. Biting and salivation is very important for the digestion begins here. But again, if you ask them to have fruits, that they are enormously very expensive. And even if they get, they are, I feel everything is they are putting some chemicals in the fruits also. So in spite of eating the fruit, then what to eat? What to take? That is the, even if they take oil, that there is pollution. This is contaminated. So we had in Gwalior also we had Milawat ke against some ministers and all, they had taken a dharna on that. That Milawat should be put a rest to. So not only the Milawat is there in the atmosphere, the Milawat is there in the minds of the people, and they are taking Indians and ourselves to really, I don't know where we are going to go from here. How much can we treat? So the basic structure, the basic immunity, the basic integrity of the human body is really taking toll. So that's all I would like to say. And skin diseases, it would be bad if I don't mention skin diseases. You see, dermatitis problem is very much there. Allergens are very much there. So importance of all this should be so 1 hour of outdoor activity is a must for all. 1 hour of cleanliness is a must for all. And above all, we are there to take care of the health. But if the basic health is suffering, immunity is suffering, then I don't know where we are leading to. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhosle. You have
Yes.
made important suggestion for health, that whatsoever, it's not only the environmental ecology which is polluted, but the food
Yes.
is also polluted.
Yes.
So whatever we are taking, it has a negative impact on the
Yes.
making, talking about the green India and clean India. Because if the food is not clean, how can we think
Yes.
of green India?
Green.
So it's very important, though we are working on that, and we find that in rural India also, the adulteration is very much there. And we are not getting any food without any adulteration. Even if you are growing yourself the wheat and the maize or any product that you are growing, cultivating, you are putting pesticides and other things which
Yes.
contaminates the food intake. So that's what it's very true. And Professor Krishnaraj has also pointed towards it. He has said that we are not to have. Now we have another two experts. One is from the bureaucracy and the other is from the health side. Now, whom to invite first in the two?
You can have Professor Ram Gulam, Dr. Ram Gulam.
Yes. Okay. So, Professor Ram Gulam, you are most welcome. Please come share your experiences and your views.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me opportunity to speak few words and some my experience in this forum. I think here we have Professor Krishna Raj, expert in this environment and climate and these areas. We have Dr. Sasiwala, that President of Gynecological Society of India, and Professor Krishna had told about uh, that uh, natural environment and how the things that so many problems, environmental crisis is there, and government of India is trying to have clean and green India, but still, it is not very effective, and so many things have to be done, and we have not to wait for years tomorrow. We have to do urgently. And very important thing that we are observing is each day raise of the temperature. That it's very well known that Professor Krishnan knows that it has increased 1 degree centigrade in last about 20 years. And the same way temperature keep on increasing, the human race will be extinct after 50 years. And we will not act on the various aspects of the environmental crisis, environmental problems. So their big problem will be for our future generation to come. So we have act today. So action has to be most important to be taken by the politician, because that is most important power that they have taken initiative. Thanks our Prime Minister. He has kind enough, and he is thinking about environment and how to have better environment in condition in India. And but at international level, so many agencies, Bill Gates and other government international agencies, government agencies, they are working how to curb this environmental problem, or how to have green and clean world, not India, globe. We have only one Earth, not two. So we can't say that we'll act tomorrow after a few years, not today. So Earth is one, so have act on today. Uh, Professor Satsiwala has emphasized about man-made environmental issues. They are also very important to be dealt with. Here, I would like to share few my PPTs. I think I will not go further. Actually, so many audience will be uh, from the will not be expert, will be from the layman. They will not be knowing about environment and other basic aspect of environment. There's very important things. Environment we know very well. They are not good. How in one more thing about that. Uh, what environment? Environment can be defined as some total of living and non-living elements that affects that influence human life. While all the living and elements, animal, plants, and forests, fisheries, and birds,
Mhm.
non-living and abiotic element, clean water, land, sunlight, and rocks and air. Then, what is uh, how I will come on later on. How does environment functions? Environment provides supply of resources. It stimulates vast. It enhances quality of life. There are resources that renewable and renewable resources, and that non-renewable that we are already exploiting using fuels and etc. Forests, that the jungles we are cutting down for our personal use, and there are other non renewable resources. Now that we are talking about nowadays about clean and green in environment, and green and clean India. So, what is green environment? Refers to the word in which natural resources, including ocean, land, and forests, are sustainably managed and conserved to improve the livelihood of, ensure food and security and human life. Clean environment refers to the low pollution, low emission world in which cleaner air, water, and ocean enables people to lead healthy and productive life. So, for healthy environment, we require both green and clean environment. So at present, first of all, we should know there is environmental crisis. Now, environment crisis present is unprecedented. It's in magnitude, pace, and time. One thing that temperature is rising, we are all observing it, and near that unwanted rains are occurring, and then sometimes that fire in the jungles are occurring. These things, and spheric ozone depletion. It has again this one major problem, and air pollution. You see that again is one of the big problem. Is that already the it has the problem of Delhi has been discussed that it is not worth living at present, and sometimes because of so air pollution, so that it was very hard to live there on that. The vehicle of different numbers are even are being run, and there are measures to be are taken how to. And then fourth problem is degraded water quality. This is very important. It has been discussed. And the second, on opposite side, there is scarcity of water. Land contamination again one of problem. One thing that we are going having deforestation. Uh, that very important issue that we are having, and uh, it is about uh, 15% of jungle have been cut down, and you see about most, like 6% whatever the earth is covered by it, and it is directly related to ecosystem. So we are not cutting down forests, we are disturbing ecosystem. Soil erosion is one of the problem. Land use and habitat loss is occurring, and biodiversity loss. Many plants and animal species threatened to extinction due to spread of disease, destruction of degradation of the habitat, and direct exploitation. It is estimated that one quarter of the world's mammal species and around one tenth of the world's bird species pose to significant risk at the total are the total extinction. Threats to the biodiversity are not confined to the terrestrial ecosystem. Serious concerns have been made about the future marine and coastal wildlife. We can protect our planet. Our protect one that we have to protect our planet, and this is global issue. And everyone living on the earth has responsibility of protecting that our planet. How can we protect and improve environmental health? Sorry. So we are talking at the present about the environmental health. Very minded by the what it mean. One can do protect environment, health, and safety by by community and throughout the planet. Health improve the quality of riding your bike, taking mass transportation. Sorry, switching to the telecommuting instead of driving by car uh, or from work. Government and business to initiate about the investing environment health initiative that ensure every neighborhood and our country. It has been discussed. Now we are resilience is there. That means resilience means being prepared to the shock and adapt effectively through climatic change. We are observing, and we have to observe. This will be big problem that we have, and now there are certain ways that people are thinking how to have resilience about it. And this is a green environment, and uh, clean environment is mostly more initiative by the World Bank, and this is a very important issue that have been. I will not go the detail. You see, one thing that I will say: this uh, uh, COVID-19, it is considered that it is because of the ecosystem, the problems of ecosystem. Disturbance ecosystem has led to spread of the virus from the bats that they were living, and they become human being. It is said that more such type of the viruses will come, such type pandemic will come, and human being should be prepared for that. And about since I'm with a psychiatrist, it has we have observed that it has created a lot of psychiatric problem, depression and anxiety because of loss of their family member, loss of their employment. This big problem is there now. Then again, it will take about decade to maintain economy to the our population, our Indian population. And a few things that I will emphasize how we can ourselves do bit for green and your office service and home today. One first I would like this practical work go digital and it less use of water, switch light off, and you reuse and recycling. In India, I have not so about. I went about 2 decades ago in Australia. They were using recycled paper. They were much concerned about. Switch computer off whenever you're not using. Recycle again. Cut unnecessary travel and save water. Green uh, the commute and bringing your lunch yourself, not asking to the various. There are so many agencies now. They are called and that that anytime they bring the food, they with the papers they bring, and a lot of the plastic they are being. And the 11th one that I will say use of not use of the plastics in the daily life and certain long-term environment vision that is challenge zero by 2025. It has been shown in this graph, and I, I want to increase. It is for first is for environment theme, social issues, then environmental initiative. So, and three phases it has been divided, and in this it has been said that initiative should be taken by not only the local person, individuals, by but it should be taken. First is for environmental theme, social issues are mitigating and adapting to the climate change. Second is harmony with the natural environment, preservation of our biodiversity, and closed loop resource sourcing. Uh, then prevention of the chemical pollution. Environmental initiative in the they have been described in three phases. That procurement of resources, extraction, transport of the low material production of material transport and business initiative office work vehicle and plant logistic and construction renovation and demolition office building products and services single family rental houses and renovation of commercial facilities building environmental with less. And the next is the using uh, not using fossil energy but using the electric and energy. There are so many things that has now initiative have been taking. Now in India, now electric vehicle have started coming. But we should now that one more thing that use of the not non-fossil energy, and that's very important because air pollution is most of it is because of use of fossil foods fuels. So electric that is to be used in place of fossil foods fuel. And nowadays it is said that various other measures have come from this initiative have been come from the government level how to use other energies sources. One lastly that I would like to say, uh, we have copied in development from the West. We have copied rapid industrialization. There are big industries. They are emitting the carbon and they're increasing pollution. They are responsible for raising energy. We have not thought about that our, as Gandhiji said, that our development industry should be based on the, or should be rural based. And because of the this region, large number of people are coming from village to city. They becomes part of the slums. They live in bad health and condition. So this industrialization have brought this. And one more thing, that we are saying that we are rapidly developing. What we are developing, we are developing, increasing the size of the cities on the cost of cutting the farms, green farms, and cutting the green jungles. So, as so many things Dr. Raj has said that should be taken, and but I will say that in my what myself feel that first thing is that now there should not be fast development of city. The you see development in the should not be on the cost of cutting farm. So we stop developing rapid industrialization, and but this should be based on the development of rural industry, should be based on the rural based, and the cutting of forest should be stopped. It could be done. We want some urgent action to be taken. Third, we are reducing farming areas, that land, and again it will affect migration of people from the villages to the cities. It should be stopped. And one more thing, that we should think about, if we will not act today, then tomorrow again such type pandemic will come, environmental issues will come, and climate rise will be more and more. There will more air and noise and other pollution we can keep. We can, we will be increasing a smaller city to the big city like Indore, which are becoming not livable and very hard to live there. So, I'm living in the city of Indore. It is considered one of the cleanest city and green city. Okay, we have now developed over Indorian. We have developed habitat. We don't put papers and throw anywhere else. They are dustbin. Daily, we collect the waste is being collected, and you see, sorry, there we have further our waste management. One plant has been here, which is just not emitting carbon. It emitting some gases are produced by these gases. The city of about 300 buses run in the city. So we have, Indore city has gone ahead for the clean and green India, but not that. But further, it will increase the size will Indore will increase, and on the cost of the forest that nearby. And I know about when I came here about 30 years ago. There was its own ecosystem. Whenever there were the summer were hot, the rains were there. Sometimes we don't even using the coolers also in the hot summers also. But 30 years ago, nowadays it is warm like west part, and there are winds that very harsh winds are blowing. Hot winds are blowing here, very like other part of UP and other cities. So we have to take urgent action. Everyone is responsible living on the earth to have clean and green in India and country and the world. As Gandhiji said, lastly, the earth is enough, it has resources, but our need, but not our greed. You see, sometimes we have to compromise our needs for the well-being of only one planet, one Earth of the this world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ram Gulam Razdan ji. You have made a good presentation We have talked about that it is not only the government which ought to do all those things to make a clean and green India, whether it is the responsibility of the each citizen to keep the country green and clean. So we should think that it is our responsibility also to to keep the country clean and make it green. Unless we do it, we cannot achieve the goal, the sustainable goal, global sustainable goal. So we should be very sincere to clean and green India, and we should work for that. Now we have our honorable speaker, Sri N.N. Pandeji, who has very long experience of bureaucracy of running this state. So I will request him to present his views to so that we can benefit with his knowledge. Dr.
Thank you,
Pandey,
Professor
please.
Narayan, and good evening to all the speakers on the on the panel, Professor Krishna Rajji, Dr. Shashi Balaji, Professor Ram Gulam Razdanji, Swam Siddha, and all the viewers. It's really been a very good coverage on both the topics, which are very timely and very appropriate. You know, right from the beginning, there has been a debate whether to put emphasis on growth or to put emphasis on distribution. Now, at some points of time, there has been emphasis on distribution, but most of the time in our journey on developmental path, it has been the growth aspect which has hogged the limelight. Being close to nature, as our respected Professor Narayan in his introductory remark has outlined, has been our legacy. And all our Shanti mantras begin with Apah Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Antarikshah Shanti, Aushadhayah Shanti, Vanaspatayah Shanti, meaning thereby, in our scheme of things, all these herbs, plants, trees, earth, water, sky had a very important place to occupy. In our Bhagavad Gita, which is the magnum opus of our ancient thinking, in Vibhuti Yog, that is the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Aham asvartha sarva vrikshanam. I am people tree amongst all the trees. And Devarshinam Chanarada. Like that, it goes on. All our scriptures would not have seen the light of the day had it not been for the rishis and munis and saints to have spent time and done penance in the lap of nature. So, whatever we have, our ancient scriptures, be it Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, all this has been the produce of nature. People at those points of time meditated, and in deep meditations, all these thought processes were revealed to them, which were later on reduced to writing. Now, Gandhiji, who was out and out a person who oozed Indianness in every aspect of his being, always advocated that we should stay close to nature, that we should have a behavior where contentment or satisfaction comes not from lavish use of resources, but from inner contentment of being close to nature, of being useful to your neighbor, to every member of your family, to the nation, and contributing your bit towards the development of the country, of the nation. This we inherited, and our constitution reverberates with such thoughts, particularly our directive principles of state policy. It mentions that rejuvenation of rivers and conservation of environment would be given priority in the scheme of governance. Our government has been following that path of सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, or सबका प्रयास, meaning thereby every citizen has to contribute towards the welfare of everybody else and welfare of the nation. Now, these two initiatives, Clean India and Green India, are the missions, important missions. Of course, there are so many which have been launched by the government. Earlier, before Swachh Bharat Abhiyan came, we had total sanitation campaign, which was followed by Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan. If we go to 2011 census, we find that only it says that 35% of the households at that point of time were covered by toilets in rural areas, and therefore there was acute need to address this problem, and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched, as our respectable speakers have spoken before, on 2nd of October 2014, in which there was participation of 30 lakh school college students and sanitation workers and government employees. So it is started with a big bang, and in all the villages and in all the cities, this campaign continued, and in by 5 years, that is by 2019, we had tremendous achievement. Most of the cities and villages were declared open defecation free, and then again we are now having the second phase of it, just to cement what we had achieved in the first phase. There are cities where there is a provision of collecting door to door garbage, and there is a facility of segregation of wet and dry garbage. Some of the garbage is going into power generation, and such an activity is being seen in most of the cities of the country. Of course, it has given a lot of respectability to the village women who were hitherto denied access to such sanitation, and they were compelled to defecate in the open. So there have been behavioral change also, but as our previous speakers have outlined, still there is unavailability or scarce availability of water, and behavioral change is yet to sink in most of the citizens. So therefore, this will come gradually, and this experience of India is being emulated in some of the less developed African countries, and it has come in for a lot of appreciation by the UN and other international bodies. Green India, of course, is an initiative which emphasizes that we should have, in tune with our national forest policy, which was announced in 1988, 33% forest cover or green cover. As of now, going by India State of Forest report 2021, about one fourth of the total area is covered by forest, and other than forest, green cover. There are states like Mizoram, Manipur, which have Arunachal Pradesh, I mean, close to 75% land mass covered by green cover. But there are others where green cover is too low. And therefore, there has been an emphasis, a strategy to involve the local communities and go in for tree plantation in a big way, not only on public land, but also on private land. And therefore, you will find that there has been an increase of certain hectares every year in terms of green cover. And this is being contributed by local communities who are taking up plantation in a big way, and government is encouraging it and giving subsidy also for such plantation on private lands. As Professor Krishna Raj, in his very wide ranging talk, outlined that Millennium Development Goals have to be achieved, but it can be achieved only through our interventions on many scores. India is a country which presents many challenges. Income inequality is one. Then, as he outlined, more than 25% people don't have means for decent existence. But government has been taking this all-inclusive route to development and has been taking care of such people by providing free rations or subsidized rations. And we have Ujjwala scheme where this smokeless chulha and things are being provided. So also reaching electricity and reaching safe drinking water. All such schemes are being implemented. 26, which was held in Glasgow, India has been a signatory, and it agreed to, move faster towards zero carbon status. But that status, we said we would be achieving by 2070, because as of now, we need to move ahead at a faster pace to achieve growth. And this growth, of course, will come only through use of resources, also fossil fuels. But at the same time, we are putting emphasis on clean energy, on solar energy, on electric vehicles, as Dr. Ram Gulam pointed out. And there are challenges on health front also. Dr. Shashi Balaji had discussed in detail that vitamin D deficiency and lack of exposure to sunlight. So it is affecting health not only in cities but also in rural areas. Of course, Ayushman Bharat is an answer to tackling health issues, but we have lot many grounds to cover and miles to go before we sleep. I would congratulate Dr. Professor S. Narayan for taking up this timely and most appropriate topic of green and clean India with relation to Gandhiji's thinking. I believe it should occupy prominent place in policy making, and let's hope coming days and coming years are much better. So thanks a lot, Professor Naran, for giving me this opportunity to express my views, and thanks a lot all the panelists. I really benefited from your discussion and in-depth analysis of the issues at hand. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sri Pandey Sahab. You have made a very good summary. You have summarized the whole presentation and have also put forth your views. Government is trying to make to make some changes in the policy, and Society for Empowerment is trying to uh, give some inputs through these webinars. And I'm sure that the views expressed here will be taken into consideration by the government as in one of the webinar in which Professor Krishnaraj talked about the tribal policy and tribal economy, and I'm happy to say that that has been adopted in toto. Whatsoever he has sent to me, the letter on the paper, that has become adopted in toto in policy, with uh, uh, some uh, some remarks in the beginning and some suggestions at the end, which I have given, and the government has also had taken into account of that. So I'm sure that this will be also taken seriously by the government, and we will, and I will let you know what the government thinks about it by in the next week, because it takes about 1 week time to have interaction, to have interact with the government and know their views. Accordingly, we will all, if required, we will once again go for this issue uh, through our webinar. We would like to support the government because the present government is very serious about it, and they want to make a real change. They want to bring a real change, which is not possible without the support of each citizen of the country. So, how to involve the citizen, that's very important, on which we have talked about. But if required, we will once again sit together webinar and we will do. So, thank you to each participant, Dr. Shashibala, Professor Krishnaraj ji, Sri Anil Pandey ji, and Dr. Ram Gulam ji. Really, it was a good presentation, and I am thankful to all of you, and I am also thankful to Swam Sudha. She is very regularly and punctually she conducts the program. She is an important pillar for us who works on it. So once again, thank you very much. Namaste.